Hi, it's Chris, and here's my review of tonight's reading of Reading Through the Bible in a Year Chronologically. October 9th already, here we are. And tonight, on October 9th, we read about the death of John the Baptist in Luke, Mark, and Matthew. We also read about Jesus feeding the 5,000 in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. No, wait, did we get John in there? Can't turn the page. Where did John come up? Yep, John's got it too. Then Jesus walking on water in Matthew, Mark, Matthew, John, Mark, Matthew, a little bit. There it's covered. But we see the great miracles that Jesus performed. He had just got done evicting or delivering people from demons. That's what we read about yesterday. And now we get the story about John the Baptist. Herod killing John. Herod put John in prison because he called him out. The interesting part about that, Herod wasn't even a Jew, but John was calling him out and say, "Hey, you're not following God's laws about marriage." He took his brother's wife and married her. She was already married. That would be adultery, right? You shouldn't be doing that. John called him out on it. He said, "You shouldn't do this." So John put him in prison, and he still liked John. He still feared John. He feared the Lord, and liked John, and would go to him often. He was often worried about things when he left John because John called him out. He was not kind. I mean, he was kind to him by telling him the truth, but his wife was not pleased that John said his wife must have liked Herod better than his brother Philip or something, probably his position, I'm guessing. So Herodias ended up having her daughter dance for him, and she ended up asking for John's head on a platter. And so John beheaded him. Very begrudgingly did it, but did it because he made the vow. As soon as Jesus heard about it, he was healing people. I would have to think he was pretty distraught by it, so he would try to leave the people. And as he's leaving in a boat, the crowds continue to follow him and gather around him, and they see the mighty miracles that he would do. So they chased him down, and Jesus had compassion on them and spoke to them and told them about the kingdom of heaven and preached to them, and then ends up feeding them with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Sits down, 5,000 people, and then says, Father, he looks up into heaven. Each bun says he looks onto heaven, and he blesses the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. Looked up to heaven and blessed them. And then he broke them, and he passed them around. He knew he was going to do this. He asked the question, he challenged Philip about it. But he knew, how would they know? That was John that documented that way. So, fed 5,000, quite a miracle. And then he said it was time to go. He says, okay, it's getting late. That was after he fed them. He sends his disciples out, sends the apostles out, and they're going across the lake. And he goes up to the mountain and pray. And we see that a lot. That's one thing we'll see more and more, that he goes off alone to pray. He goes to the wilderness to pray to God. And he does. And then his disciples are going out trying to row across the lake. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and the wind and the waves are coming up, and it's keeping them from being able to make progress. So Jesus he was walking out, and he walks past them, and they see him and get scared, and he calls out, it's me, I'm here, I am here, it's me. And so he gets into the boat, and there's a couple Matthew documents that Peter even gets out of the boat, but because of his little faith, not small little, but short, it was washed away, it was gone with a little bit of worry, a little bit of fear. He did walk on the water, but then Jesus had to save him. He had to come up and grab his hand and immediately pull him up, and then they went back to the boat. But he did have faith, but it was short-lived. How often do we get that way? Get short-lived with our faith. But they did cross the lake, and the people there brought the sick people to him and healed, and he healed them. They would bring the sick people, would bring them on mats and let them touch the hem of his garment, and they would be healed just by that. The news went out that that's the kind of power the Son of God had here on earth, the healing power, great healing power. Sick people, lame people, blind people, lepers even. Lepers were not allowed to touch anybody because of the leprosy. There was oftentimes leprosy was very contagious. Some was, some wasn't. And there was a way to tell, but it took quite an ordeal. People would stay away from lepers because they didn't want that. But Jesus willingly touched them and took it out of them. He drove out demons. He drove out evil spirits. They would shriek at him when they saw him. They did not like him. That was Jesus. That is Jesus. It's the same Jesus that's alive today. He was dead, buried, and resurrected. And that's the Jesus we serve, with that kind of power. So, anyway, that's what we read tonight. A lot of miracles, a lot of good stuff, a lot of neat stuff. And with that, God bless. Amen.